Test, 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 test.
Got it? All right, perfect.
Testing.
Oh, yes, I'm going to have to look at your phone if we get anywhere close to 5. I had a totally klutzy moment today and flipped my phone into a bucket of water. So it's currently in a pile of rice.
Ouch. So, all right, there's my.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize.
So now, as soon as Penny comes, we'll. Get started. Anybody on Zoom?
Oh, I just admitted to everyone what a klutz I am. And I have again.
Yeah, it's a transcript for perpetuity. Yeah. Happy Martin, join on Zoom, gonna be very important. Sorry, when you say the name, Happy Martin, okay. We need that. And I didn't really long, I think I'll want to right now. Well, thank you. You want to really want something? Yes, please. Thank you.
A very short agenda.
Yes,
And we
very
can
short.
Blow through it real quick.
Yeah.
You mastered the art of attending 2 meetings at once.
I haven't even tried.
No, I don't try. No. I'm like, you maybe did.
No, I'm too.
I'll try to keep it fun.
You're good? All right, let's call this Board of Directors meeting, Monroe County Solid Waste Management District at Thursday, June 8th, 2023 to order. We'll begin with a roll call of directors in attendance.
McKim,
Here.
Thomas. Githens,
Here.
Hamilton. Piedmont Smith. Jones,
Here.
Swafford.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you very much. Let's see, we have 2 items just for comment, no vote. The executive committee meeting minutes from May 2nd, 2023. Any comments or questions on those? Okay, we also have the executive committee executive session minutes from May 11th, 2023. Any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of Board of Directors meeting minutes from May 11th, 2023. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move approval of the Board of Director meeting minutes from May 11th, 2023.
We have a motion,
Second,
motion and a second. Any amendments that haven't already been provided to Mr. McGlasson? Nope. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I was.
Under the bylaws, for minutes, it's present and
Yeah, but-
acting, so the motion will carry.
All right, I'll vote yes. I read.
No, the motion would carry with 3 ayes and 1 abstention.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. So motion does carry. All right, we'll move on to the controller's position. Mr. McGlasson.
Yes, if board members will recall, you should have received an email a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, Ms. Dewar did submit her resignation as controller of the district. We were fortunate enough to have a previous controller, Kathy Martin, as our office manager at that time. She has agreed to assume the controller responsibilities and duties until such time as the board were to fill that position. Has also expressed interest in the position now that it is vacant and available. Did present this to the executive committee at their meeting on the 2nd. Or no, when was that? On May 30th. Sorry, with staff's recommendation to offer the position to Ms. Martin. Would advise the board that as indicated in the memo, one of Ms. Martin's reasons for coming back was a reduced schedule to be able to spend more time with family. She has indicated that she might have some possible conflicts with some of the executive committee meetings currently scheduled, but board meetings should not be an issue for her if she were to be offered the position.
Okay. Great. Any comments from the left
Nope.
or from the right?
No, I would very much like to see Miss Martin back.
Okay. We will, so I would entertain a motion to offer the position to Ms. Martin.
I move that the Monroe County Solid Waste Board approve the hiring of Kathy Martin as our controller.
We
Second,
have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? I enthusiastically support that as well.
But I hope that as a new office manager is brought in, that Ms. Martin will be available to help train that person.
All right. So we'll do a voice vote since we're not operating under hybrid rules. So all in favor of appointing Ms. Martin as controller of the district, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Great. Welcome aboard. Or welcome back aboard. Great. All right, we will move to the controller's report. First, we have cash flows.
Okay, the cash flow statements are on page 16 of your packet. And the operating balance, and this is as of April 30th, was $2,362,560.24. The May 31st balance in the savings account was $1,016,416.59. The May 31st balance for the closure bond debt account was $7,849.22. And the May 31st balance for the capital account was $45,575.61. We have an April 30th balance for the landfill post-closure account, and that was $740,755.53. We did not get that statement in time to get the May information included in the packet. The actual cash flow statements for each of these accounts are on pages 17 to 22 of your packet. And barring any unforeseen issues, I feel confident that we can have the May and June operating cash flows updated and to you with the July board packet. Questions on the account balances or cash flows?
I will just say I appreciate the effort in getting us on track with the cash flow statements, and we look forward to being completely on track by the next meeting. So let's see, any questions from the left? From the right?
I do have one question. Do we have any cause for concern for the balance that's in the closure bond debt? When's the next revenue coming in on that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The closure bond debt right now, as of the end of May, we only have a balance of $7,849.22. Is there any concern about whether or not we have sufficient funds in that?
Oh, no, that is normal for this time of year because the June settlement will be the funds used for the August payment.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to know, whether or not there would be sufficient funds coming in. Thanks.
Great. All right, thank you very much for that cash flow report. Next, we have PR and claims.
On page 23, you have a total for the payroll and claims for approval. We didn't have any claims this past week. The claims paid in May are listed with a total of payroll and claims for approval in the amount of $282,914.70. The listing of individual payments that are included in that amount follow on pages 24 to 42. Questions on those payments or claims?
See questions. Thank you. Questions from the right. Questions from the left? Okay, we'll take a motion to approve payroll and claims from 6/8/2023.
Move approval of payroll and claims from June 8th, 2023.
Motion in a second. All right. Let's see, I'll take public comment on this one. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to the service agreement with Connie Hudson.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to my page in the packet. As we just previously discussed with Ms. Dewar's resignation and Ms. Martin agreeing to fulfill those duties, now assuming those duties permanently, we did have a void in our office manager position, and unsure of the status of the controller position and where that might go. I did reach out to our former office manager, Connie Hudson, who also previously served as our controller for a number of years, to see if she'd be interested in coming back on a contractual basis to help fill that void, help Ms. Martin refamiliarize herself with our policies, procedures, and our accounting software system. And she was agreeable to do that for a period of time. We kind of left it open-ended, but we're kind of looking at a month to 2 months is what everybody has in mind. But with that, her agreeable to that, we did draft the service agreement that is included in the board packet. That was left kind of open-ended for as far as a term. There's just an ability to terminate the agreement by either party with a 14-day written notice. So that agreement has been vetted by legal counsel and approved by him, also been vetted with the executive committee, and they were agreeable to the terms.
Great. Thank you very much. First, just wanted to see if Mr. Baker had any comments or anything he wanted to add to the discussion.
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. So are there any comments or questions on this service agreement from the right?
No.
And from the left? Okay, I'll entertain.
Mr. King, if I could, one, I think important caveat that I forgot, the service agreement is retroactive to May 31st, which is when she first came back in and started assisting us.
Thanks for making that clear. That is in the agreement. That date is in the agreement here as well. Thank you. All right, well, I will entertain a motion to ratify the service agreement with Connie Hudson.
I move approval of the service agreement with Connie Hudson as office manager with the effective date beginning May 31st, 2023.
Motion,
Second.
motion and a second. Great. Any other comments or questions from board members? Seeing none, are there any members of the public who'd like to make comment? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the service agreement, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we move on to a resolution to amend resolution 2022-14 to establish the 2023 district holiday schedule.
And again, as indicated in the memo on page 49, this does not make any changes to the previously decided upon observed holidays for the district. This is a change in the floating holidays for one particular staff member, a recycling and reuse coordinator. And we're making a change to her schedule. She's going to go to the South Walnut facility, works a bi-weekly. The staff there works a Tuesday through Saturday, followed by a Wednesday, or Tuesday through Friday, followed by a Wednesday through Saturday, 2-week rotation. And the recycling and reuse coordinator is now going to go to a weekly Tuesday through Friday schedule. What that does, though, is now have her work schedule fall on 2 Tuesday holidays that the previous rotation did not. So what this resolution does is reduce her number of floating holidays from 6 to 4. In addition to that, you can see in the last paragraph on page 49, while we're looking at all of this, it was discovered that on the floating holidays for South Walnut, the Hazmat Tech 1 and Hazmat Tech 2 positions were switched. So we've switched those back. Those 2 staff members are aware of that error and this correction being made. Neither of them has used any floating holidays to date this year, so it doesn't have any impact on anybody's holiday schedules.
Okay, thank you. So basically technical corrections. Any comments or questions on either side?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-07.
I move that we pass resolution 2023-07.
We have a motion,
Second.
a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, are there any members of the public who'd like to make a comment? Seeing none, all in favor of resolution 2023-07, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, next we have an update on the host fee agreements. This is not a voting item.
Just as indicated in the memo, the staff and legal counsel did meet with representatives from Public Services last Friday on June the 2nd to review the proposed host fee agreement that was tabled by the board at the May meeting. Unfortunately, that time did not give us, adequate time to deal with questions and concerns raised and have any sort of a revised agreement that we thought both parties would be agreeable to present to the board this week. But out of the meeting, I think was very productive. We are now potentially looking at drafting a host fee agreement that would be identical for both parties and would be a new agreement from our existing agreement with Republic Services that would supersede that existing agreement, which all parties agree is just going to be a much cleaner way to move forward. So that's where we are with that, and certainly do hope that by the July meeting, we have an agreement for the board to consider to enter into with both entities.
Great, thank you. And my understanding is both processors are escrowing the host fee at this point.
Yes, both entities have indicated that they are collecting what is assumed to be the host fee that they would be subject to, and are escrowing those funds until such time that we get things all agreed to, signed, and moving forward.
Great, thank you. Let's see, and any questions or comments from the right? I know Commissioner Gibbons, you had some suggestions that you had made or comments.
Well, I mean, it was actually on the draft agreement that the executive board received only. So there was a paragraph about if there was a legal dispute, payment for legal representation, and since the solid waste district doesn't contract really with outside legal counsel, what happens in the event that there is some kind of suit?
I did see that. Unfortunately, didn't see that till earlier this afternoon, and it's something that we would need to take up both with Mr. Baker and the county attorney's legal office, as well as Angela Parker, who's working on this agreement for us. But we do have an agreement in place with the county attorney's office that, although not an hourly rate, does in essence establish a retainer that the district pays to the county for those services. So there is something in place that could be referred to, but would also, for me, would also want to look at, Mr. Baker's familiarity and comfort level with this issue. And if something were to happen down the road, would it be Mr. Baker or another attorney in the county attorney's office, or would we go back to Ms. Parker to defend us in any sort of a breach allegation with that agreement?
I just think it's something that we need to try to spell out before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I agree that we need to have some clarity and from the district standpoint of how that's handled for the district in that instance.
All right, any questions or comments from the left? All right, thank you, and we look forward to further developments.
So do we expect the agreements for next month's meeting?
I
Is
can't
that-
promise anything because there's two other entities involved in this, but my hope is that, yes, we will present to the board at next month's meeting, an
Both.
agreement, identical agreement for each entity to
Excellent, thank you.
agree to.
Thank you. Okay, next we have a request for appointment to the CAC.
Yes, so a memo on page 54 of the packet, followed by the email that was received from Mr. Matt Austin expressing interest in joining the CAC. Actually met Mr. Austin at the utilities anaerobic digester public information session that they held, and expressed interest there, and he followed up with the enclosed email. I think the email shows a lot of interest and experience that aligns quite well with the district's goals and objectives, and would recommend that he be appointed to the CAC.
Terrific. Any comments on Mr. Austin's appointment from the left? And from the right?
No, I think it's really wonderful that somebody's that already has an interest in this, and as deep as his is, that he's willing to give his time and to help people, the other residents of the county, basically.
Sounds like a fantastic appointment. I would definitely support it.
Yeah,
I'll entertain a motion to appoint Matt Austin to the CAC.
I move that we appoint Matt Austin to the CAC.
A motion,
second,
a motion, a second. Any other comments? Are there any members of the public who'd like to make comment? Seeing none, all in favor of appointing Matt Austin to the Citizens Advisory Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and congratulations and thank you for your willingness to serve, Mr. Austin. All right, next we have the CAC report. And I apologize, I called it commission, it's committee. Sorry.
Afternoon, board members. Joseph Winnie here, Chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. It's been another pretty straightforward month for us. We are continuing the rebranding discussion with logos proposed by Lambert Consulting. That's ongoing. We did get into our, 2023 strategic planning and also the 2024 budget process discussions, both of which are ongoing into our next meeting. And then lastly, longtime member Ryan Conway has resigned from the CAC, but now we also have Matt Austin joining the CAC. So that is our current status.
Great. Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. I was very sorry to see Mr. Conway go, but that I'm glad that Mr. Austin stepped up to fill the void. Let's see, any questions for Mr. Winnie from the left? All right. Thank you very much for your continued service.
Absolutely.
And I do appreciate you're at every event related to the solid waste district. Yeah,
Yes.
It's
He
great.
has better attendance than I do, I think.
Yeah, it's great community involvement. That's great. Okay, we'll move on to department reports.
Yeah, well, I'll start with just, the legislative update that we've, done every month while the legislature was in session to start the year. Would note that the bills that we were watching were all passed and did all become law, were signed by the governor. And there are really none that have any major negative consequences on the district. I think the solar panel decommissioning and disposal studies, a very forward-thinking bill by the legislature, and very pleased to see that one. The advanced recycling bill, really, this is one that I think was really pushed by the Brightmark facility up in Ashley. That is. I'm not sure if you remember, I haven't talked about that in a while, but that's a plastics recycling facility that's process is supposed to break plastics down to their petroleum base, and in essence results with two byproducts, a low-grade diesel fuel and a wax. And that's I think that bill was really pushed by that company, and it basically just eliminates some of the red tape, in essence, that they would be subject to if they were classified as a solid waste facility instead of an industrial process. And hopefully that will help them continue to move forward in refining their process and get them online to where they can start accepting large volumes of this material and doing something productive with it. The prescription drug donation repository, again, probably not something the district would be directly involved in, because some of the criteria in order to be a repository location or a participant in that program. But obviously, prescription disposal is something that the district tries to work with and keep these things from going into the waste stream or being flushed down the drains or the toilet. So this is another program that would provide another avenue to take prescription drugs that would be harmful if improperly disposed of, and actually have a reuse for them for people in need that couldn't afford them otherwise. So we think that's a pretty good program. And one of the bills that probably does have an impact on the district is the live streaming and archiving media, which is now House Enrolled Act 1167. It's going to have an impact on most any public entity or most any governing body to a public entity, of which this board is, our executive committee would be, as well as the CAC. But under the past language of the law, it would only apply if those bodies are meeting in the same room in which for layman's terms, that the commissioners are meeting, that the county council is meeting, that the city council is meeting. So under our current setup, the board would be the only governing body for the district that this law would apply to. And in the current setup in the Nat U Hill meeting room, we're pretty much in compliance with it already. So not going to require much change on our part. The publication of local government notices is one I think we briefly talked about a few months ago. I think initially they were trying to pass a law to change the way notification or public notice had to be made. What was passed was establish a task force to look at the impact on both the media, on the governing bodies, of allowing public notice to take place, on the organization website, and whether or not there was a need to continue with actually physically noticing in local newspapers. So, be curious to see what information that task force comes back with, and that is actually due back to the legislature this December. So. That may result in a change next year with our notice requirements. The Solid Waste Matters bill, the only impact on the only section of that districts are really concerned with or looking at that doesn't have a big impact on us, but if you'll recall last year, they as a part of the recycling market development grant funds, they established a pilot project up in Marion County to look at expanding recycling efforts in Marion County. And this year they've have expanded that pilot to include the 8 donut counties around Marion County. And then earmarked up to $2 million of those recycling market development grant funds for that project. It was originally proposed to be 3. It came down to 2 in the law that was passed. But the only negative to that is that it is $2 million that would be otherwise made available to the entire state. That's now focused on Marion County and the 8 donut counties. But again, that is Marion County is the one county that's never been required to have a solid waste district. It is predominantly an urban area. But for those reasons, it's an area that has not had the recycling efforts that a lot of the rest of the state has. So hopefully that will expand recycling accessibility to the residents in those areas. But again, it does take funds away that would otherwise be made available to the entire state. Any questions on the legislation? Okay. Just to update, we are continuing to move forward with our rebranding process. We have had some back and forth with the consultant on draft logos. Do have a meeting scheduled with them Monday morning to hopefully try to wrap up the logo development of that process so that we can move on to the next steps of the rebranding. I think I previously announced, but announce again that Elisa Pocrawl is hosting a composting workshop at the district administration office this coming Saturday. It also will have, some representatives from MC Iris on hand to discuss invasive jumping worms, which have become a problem this year and are a concern for local gardening and the local environment. So there's still time if anybody's interested in registering for that. They can contact the district, contact Ms. Pocrawl at the district office at 849-349-2020 or epocrawl@mcswmd.org. We'll have a booth at the fair again this year, partnering with the Monroe County Highway Stormwater Program. And I think that's probably all that I need to highlight on that, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. No questions? Okay, well, we'll move on to Mr. Long then.
Does he need to be promoted to panelist?
There he is. He's coming.
Yep, sorry about that. Oh, I lost you. There we go.
You're there. Sweet.
Sorry. So for the recycling and reuse, the month of May for us is extremely busy with students moving out and parents coming into town and everything. So staff at the main recycling center has been extremely busy with helping students recycle as much as possible from their dorms and stuff and apartments, and also saving boxes and newspapers and other packing material. That way it can be repurposed versus just being recycled, and helping a lot of the students out and parents out. The hazardous materials, we helped city hand department again with their last neighborhood cleanup of the year. We do 2 every year with them. This year, or this cleanup, the chemicals and fluorescent light bulbs wasn't that much, but we did take 63 tires, which was quite a bit in one day. And the rural recycling sites, we went and collected the Earth Keepers bins, and I actually just finished talking to them just a few minutes ago. They came and collected them from us. And that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you very much. I am sorry about the having to collect the Earth Keepers barrels. I've certainly heard from constituents who are sorry to see that service go away.
Oh yeah, myself, I've been out there. I've talked to different customers on the last couple days that was using the services. trying to help them as best as we can moving forward. Right now, there's a couple options that, they have expressed to me, but hopefully somebody can step up and carry it on.
All right, let's see, any questions for Mr. Long from the left? From the right?
No, but I do want to thank you for working with the hand department to do this neighborhood cleanup.
Oh, they're so great. I've been working with them for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years now myself, and they're so great to work with. They do a great job for us.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. Oh, yes.
I could just follow up on Mr. Long real fast with regard to the food waste collection and Earth Keepers. Obviously, yes, that just a devastating situation for many people involved. But to let the board, the public know, have been working or discussing with the city's Office of Sustainability and Economic Development. And we have actually identified a company out of Indianapolis called Earth Mama Composting. And we do have a meeting set up with them later this month. They potentially have some interest in expanding down to the Bloomington area. So that we might have an outlet to resume that program hopefully in the near future.
Wait, did you say there was Earth Mom Composting?
Earth Mama Compost.
Earth Mama Composting. That's a great name.
It is.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Long.
Thank you.
And let's see, do we have Mr. Paulson?
Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Hey there, Lee Paulson, Landfill and Compliance Director. Was kind of a busy month for us for May. Mary Beth and I, the big highlight is that we did our semi-annual groundwater sampling. This was the short list. Everything went very, very smoothly. So all those samples are sent off to Pace Labs. We've gotten the results back much quicker than we normally do. And they've been forwarded on to our AECom for our statisticians, where they go through all the data and provide us the report that we work with to submit to IDEM. So that's all done. So we're getting caught back up with everything because both of us out of the office pretty much for 2 weeks. Danny was able to step in and kind of keep things going, so it wasn't such a big like Fridays when we don't normally sample on Fridays because the lab can't accept the samples on Saturdays when we would ship them. So Danny was able to keep things up. So when we got to Fridays, it wasn't just hit with a million things to do. So super thankful for that. Right now, the only stuff we're really working on is we're in the process right now of cleaning out the collection pond at the landfill. We've had that invasive weed that we dealt with a couple years ago is back. So we're trying to take care of it and hopefully give us a couple more years and where we have to do this again. So not really sure why this is the way it is, but it just seemed like one of these problems that I think we're just going to have to deal with every couple of years ongoing. But the cleanup's going pretty good so far. We're working with Bynum Faneuil and they're hauling and doing what we need them to do. And Joey's letting us borrow a couple people to help us with the cleanup. So it's not just Danny, Mary Beth, and myself. So, but it's going pretty good so far. So other stuff is just what it is. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you very much. Questions from the right?
It just seemed that the number of environmental compliance cases was down this month. Is that?
Well, with us, we didn't do a whole lot of roadside stuff just because Mary Beth and I were out at the landfill for 2 weeks. So that's 2 people out of rotation to go find and do some things. Danny kept up with making sure that the visits that Mary Beth had scheduled were on time and getting the pictures to keep those families and those households working towards the goal of getting their properties cleaned up. So May is usually a lower month for us just because of the groundwater and the weather changing and stuff like that. Part of it too is, the roadside stuff, the grass is all tall. So it's hard for us to identify where some of that stuff is, and it's very labor intensive to be on the side of the road with, weeds up to your knees trying to pick out little pieces of trash that are down in the ground. So, but we'll, right now, once we get done with the pond cleanup, we'll be back out there to get a couple more coordinated cleanups going and get back out on the roads.
I was just hoping that there was less need for these things, that's all.
I would wish that would be a great thing to be, but I don't think that's ever going to be. I think as Bloomington expands and grows, it's not going to get any better. It's just going to be different.
Thanks. Any questions from the left? All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. McGlasson, any other staff reports?
No.
He's got stuff on Adopter Road and stuff too there.
Oh. Okay. I'm
What?
sorry. Did you want him to
Mr.
address
Wilson
something else?
Still has things on the Adopter
Oh.
Road program that it was in the,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
there was still there, you did have report on the Adopter Road and that was in our packet and things like that too.
Oh, yeah. Our Adopter Road is, we have a lot of volunteers going out right now. The past several months, we've had quite a few people out. So they're, Mary Beth has done a great job with working with peoples and organizations and keeping them excited about it. The weather has been pretty nice, so it's not like it's been too hot or too rainy or too cold. So a lot of people have been out doing it. Usually the end of, right around May, we see a lot of university groups trying to do their cleanups before they go home for the summer. So we've just seen a lot of consistent work with that. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Okay. And so is that all? Is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Oh, I'm good.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, now let's see, we have public comment on items that are not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public who'd like to make public comment? We actually do have 2 members of the public in the audience, but nobody is rising to the lectern. So we'll move on to comments from directors. We'll start from the left. Any comments?
No.
From the right?
I did want to let the public know that at the meeting that the City of Bloomington Utilities sponsored on the digester, they indicated that they would not be making any request for funding from the solid waste district for the digester if they go ahead with that project. And I also wanted to ask Mr. McGlasson, and I'm sorry, I forgot to ask this last week. What's the status of getting the new vehicles?
Actually, Mr. Paulson might be a little more up to date on that than I am. I believe that one of the vehicles is at the dealership or on its way to the dealership, but the other one is still a couple of months out. So, Mr. Paulson, any more information than that?
Yeah, what I was told by Curry is that they're working on the paperwork right now. The vehicle to replace the black Ford is en route to Curry. I've provided them all of our information for titles and all that kind of stuff, and then they've got to get it in their system so that we can pay them, and then we got to pay them, and then get that set up. And she doesn't have an exact date. Hopefully within the next 6 to 8 weeks for the compliance replacement truck. She just all that stuff is out of her hands. It's all dependent upon when the truck is manufactured and put together. And she just doesn't have their system just won't allow her to get that information at this time. But she's been very informative with me, and every time she gets an update, she emails me with that information. So it's not she's keeping me informed. It's just she doesn't have any information to provide.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. I didn't make it.
Yep.